Welcome to the Bitcoin Zodiac, the podcast that explores the intersection of finance and astrology, where we use a combination of spirituality and logic to help us connect the dots in the markets. Hosted by Corinne Florence and Claire Marinan, who both come from a diverse background, bringing with them a wealth of knowledge and experience in the realms of astrology, cryptocurrency, trading, philosophy, investment strategy, and of course, Bitcoin. In each episode, we explore the economics of the markets following the evolution of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency through each moon cycle and astrological transit. Join us on this journey as we explore the intersection of these two worlds that are often thought to be at odds with one another, finance and astrology. Whether you're a seasoned crypto investor, a day trader, or just starting to dip your toes into the world of Bitcoin and blockchain, Bitcoin Zodiac is the podcast for you. So sit back, relax, and come and expand your consciousness with us as we explore the world of the financial markets through an astrological lens. Good evening.
Good evening. Good morning from Florida. How are we doing?
Evening from Thailand. I'm doing fabulous. Fabulous.
Enjoyed the full moon in Virgo energy?
No, I didn't. No. It's not my favorite energy. And I just find that like things just come up that annoy me that I think are pointless. Like I was saying, fine. Bitcoin did exactly what we thought it was going to do. Just have that kind of like very mini pullback before the full moon and then bounce out of it. And now it is just, I mean, I think it's like $50 away from all-time highs, and actually on the CME, it did break all-time highs. So, yeah, super interesting. Go Bitcoin, go.
Finally. It's exciting. We were talking about how it feels a little early, but like we're here for it. And I was actually looking at the astrology, and for those of you watching or listening, we're recording as of the 5th of March. So you'll be listening to this on the new moon. But coming up to that new moon, we have a Venus conjunct natal, the natal Neptune of Bitcoin. And that's just such like this euphoria energy. So I feel like as we head towards that new moon, we've actually still got a while to go. So as you guys are listening or watching this, it's probably well above the all-time high and created a new all-time high. So
I expect to wake up tomorrow morning to a new all-time high. Like, I'm going to go to bed tonight. I did say this last night as well, by the way, but it just was inches away. But yeah, I do expect to wake up tomorrow morning, go to bed tonight, wake up tomorrow morning to Bitcoin have broken all-time highs a month before the halving. I mean, what? Yeah. We didn't, yeah, I wouldn't have picked that, but we knew 2024 was going to be the year of expansion, and it's going pretty crazy. And I do want to share a website as well that I have open just to sort of show why this cycle is different almost, because the money coming in, I don't even really feel like retail is in yet. I don't think it's till Bitcoin breaks the previous cycle's all-time high, that's when retail starts to get really interested. And so really this push, this early move up has really been coming from institutions. So let me know if you can see this in a second. Yeah, now it should be able to see it.
what's up?
Yeah, and so basically the website is btcetffundflow.com, and it's just showing the different this top blue line. Oh, that's annoying. The top blue line is the total. The dotted orange line or dashed orange line is the Bitcoin price, and then the other lines that you can see are the individual ETFs like GBTC, BlackRock, VanEck, etc. And so as you can see, it's really to the up and to the right. And as of yesterday, it's nearly $52 billion poured into Bitcoin. So Yeah, so that's what we're seeing. It's really being driven by institutions, which is fresh and new.
Yeah. And you know, this is where like you said, like I also believe that the retail hasn't really come in yet. Just a couple days ago, or was it yesterday? I don't know, all these days feel like they're all meshing into one big day because it's all happening so quickly as well. You know, we had Bitcoin surpass 100,000 Australian dollars,
Yeah.
and my phone has been blowing up where people are like, hi, no, we haven't spoken in a couple of years, which is fine. And I love, like, you know, I want to like be able to help people, but it's just looking at the mindset and the market and what people are thinking and feeling. And, you know, a lot of people are like, no, we haven't spoken in a few years. I'm seeing that Bitcoin's, you know, over 100K Australian. When do I get in? And
Mm.
so it's brewing. And to think that the last cycle that we had, as we spoke about in the last episode, we had all-time highs being created just off investors like you and me. We didn't have such big institutions coming in. It already goes to show where we can start to already forecast, predict, to create in our mind a vision of where is price headed to next, now that we're just at the beginning of the next cycle. You know, I think I said this last episode too. It feels like late 2020, early 2021 vibes. I remember sitting in Costa Rica, jumping up and down, being excited that Bitcoin was about to like hit 30K and it was creating all-time highs. And it just feels like the same energy. Even though I'm very different now than what I was back then, it's still like the energy that's in the air is very similar. So
Yeah, it does. I mean, we're seeing it on all of the different metrics as well. Like you can definitely see it in social media. The interest in Bitcoin is coming back. Even I consider us to be pretty niche, like probably as niche as you can get in terms of Bitcoin and astrology. And you know, we're already seeing a lot of traction on our social media. And you can start to see some of the bigger YouTubers, they're getting a lot more volume on their videos and things like that. So people are coming back and starting to be interested in Bitcoin again, which is interesting, which is cool.
it
And
is. It's so exciting. And you know, I also just want a friendly reminder to everybody. And if you haven't, make sure that you go back and watch several episodes where Claire and I have spoken also about the yes, okay, it's exciting that the dollar value or the fiat value in comparison to Bitcoin is increasing. That's awesome. But when we zoom out even more and we really come to the underlying understanding that here we're creating completely new systems, we're dissolving the old and creating the new. Just continue to remember that one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, or we can really even start looking at one Satoshi is forever one Satoshi, and really look at that, because I think there is a lot of I'm going to call it FOMO as well now, where a lot of people like, oh no, but like I'm never going to be able to buy one Bitcoin. And realistically, it's okay if you don't actually end up buying a full Bitcoin. Already having like 0.1 of a Bitcoin nowadays is a lot. And especially if you have it in a decentralized place where you have your private keys and your recovery phrases and it's all yours and you're in custody of that, then that's already incredible, truly.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to plug a couple of things that we've released as well this week. We had an incredible episode with the guys from Coinos, which is a Bitcoin wallet, and it just allows you to be able to spend in Satoshis at different retailers. And they just gave so much value in that episode. I learned so much. And so I'm sure you guys will too. Please go and check that out, and also go and check out what they're doing with Coinos. And I did an AMA on our Instagram a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. I can't even remember now. And it's going so fast. So please go and check that out as well. Corinne will be doing our March AMA, and they seem to be really popular, and we love the interaction with you guys as well. We want to be answering the questions that you have, you know, not just us going off on our own little tangents, which we love to do too, and we'll keep doing that. But you know, so yeah, so make sure that when we post that, you get your questions in for Corinne to answer as well, and yeah, we'll keep doing them throughout the year.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to connecting with a lot more of you on social media. So make sure that, you know, whether you're listening to us on Spotify, on podcasts, or you're even watching us now on YouTube, we have various social media platforms. So connect, ask your questions, because we obviously love to answer what it is that you guys are after and what you're wanting to learn. Yeah, let's look a little bit at let's talk a little bit about the new moon. What do you reckon? Seeing as happy new moon in Pisces, everybody. um, it's very much an energy, you know, and I love new moons because it's that time of creation, it's that time of manifestation, it's the time of visualizations. And, you know, as somebody that's been told her whole life that she lives in the clouds, like I like living there. I like living in another dimension because I love to visualize, and it just so magically happens to then come true as well in my 3D reality. And I feel like that's very much like a Pisces energy too. I've always thought of Pisces. So Pisces is ruled by the planet Neptune, and that's just for me such this mystical, I call it like the 5D. Like I know many Pisces people, and sometimes I'm like, they don't quite live on Earth, do they? Like they have this like living in this other dimension. And when it comes to financial astrology as an energy as well, this is very much, you know, as I just mentioned, we have Venus conjunct the natal Neptune of Bitcoin. It's that energy as well of like euphoria, which I would very much pay attention to as well. Seeing as Bitcoin is approaching all-time highs, or probably has created a new all-time high. Euphoria, and also like a little sprinkle of illusion or delusion as well. So I would just pay attention to that as well. Anything you'd like to add in regards to the new moon in Pisces at the moment?
To be honest, when we look in terms of Bitcoin, as I said last episode as well, like this, you know, it feels very fast, very soon, you know, to be honest, and it does make me uncomfortable. I'm not waiting, but I am anticipating some kind of retracement. So looking at the astrology, though, there's not really many places where I can, you know, point out that would happen. And really the main place that sort of stands out for not even a drastic pullback is really this new moon. So I can see us creating we're recording this on the 5th. So between now and the 10th, I can see us printing new all-time highs into that new moon, and then out of it having a bit of a pullback. Now throughout this bull run, we've been having retracements of about 20%. That's all we've been getting. Usually for a bull run, we get about 30 to 35%. But as you can see with the chart that I just showed you, the inflows that are coming into the ecosystem are just beyond what we've ever seen before. So if I were planning this, I would be setting myself up for a potential 20% retracement. If we get it now, maybe a couple of days after the new moon, that's what I'd be looking at, and just preparing that it may go deeper, but not banking on it. So that's kind of how I would play that. Now, in terms of Pisces, from a personal perspective, also this new moon is the finale of the astrological new year. So the astrological year. So this is it. And Pisces is symbolized by two fish swimming in opposite directions. So it represents the vast and limitless ocean. So it encourages being the witness to one's life, observing energy unfold without intervention. So it's really like being the witness and being the observer. So observation and flow is a key thing for this new moon in Pisces. So it really invites this introspection on the constant fluctuations of our mind and our heart, but without needing to immediately react, just to be that observer. So it really teaches us the art of surrender to life's flow, emphasizing grace and ease in the face of uncontrollable events. It also opens the mind for expanded consciousness, reaching to the depths that are really unique to Pisces. Like if you know Pisces people in your life, they are deep, you know, they are quite deep thinkers. And as Corinne said, that depth can sort of be otherworldly, and it can I guess the shadow side of it is can be maybe a little delusional, a little out of touch with reality. Really the gifts of Pisces season are this heightened intuition and inner knowing. So it really reminds us of the connection to God, to the universe, to the divine, and the inherent cosmic knowledge within. So it encourages us to look inward for answers and dissolving barriers to our intuition. So it's really a time to begin to trust and experiment with your intuition. So maybe start to keep a journal of intuitive insights and then observing the outcomes, so that you're sort of building that trust muscle and that trust within your intuition that, okay, I got that intuitive download, and what was the outcome of that? Did it line up with what my intuitive download was? So start with really small decisions that you make based on your intuition, and then gradually trusting it more for more significant life choices. So it's really learning the art of surrender. It teaches going with the flow and releasing the need for control. Like this is like my least favorite part of Pisces, but we all need to do that. Just surrender and realize that there are forces that are greater than us, that are in control, and that, if you go with that flow, it's really going to go better for you. So go with the flow, release the need for control all the time. Trust in the universe and your connection to it. So let go of attachments that don't serve you, and which is usually the sort of kind of full moon advice, is to let go of attachments. But this is more about like really connecting to the divine and understanding that connection and letting go of other attachments that are like fighting against that. So surrendering to God, the universe, the divine, is also surrendering to your higher self. So, really leading to serendipity and grace when you can surrender to your higher self as well. So the new moon specifically, that's more to do with Pisces season. And as I said, it's the last new moon of this astrological year. And it really gives us a moment of profound reflection and also forward vision. So it's a really auspicious lunar phase, and it ushers in a period of closure, and also to embrace the promise of expanded awareness and of the possibilities of the future. So it's a really sacred time to recognize the boundlessness of our own energies and the potentials that lie dormant within us, just waiting to be unblocked and released. So this new moon is really telling you, whispering interconnectedness, reassuring us that our deepest desires are not just fantasies, but realities awaiting our acceptance. So I think that's pretty cool. So obviously it's a really beautiful time to set intentions and to really sort of dare to dream. Like that's the that's the sound of Pisces, is that, you know, dare to dream and dare to set intentions around those dreams. So yeah, also the flowers that align with this new moon and Pisces season in general are really a lotus, water lily, and lilac. And then the colors are very much like lavender and gray and pastel purples and like grayish blues. And the scents are really around like lavender, vetiver, melissa, anything that really calms the nervous system and promotes that dream state, intuition, and spirituality. So that's really how to align to this, the beautiful energies of this new moon.
And you know, I always love like listening to this because I feel like I then stop and like reflect on some of like the new things that like have been coming into my life, or maybe even sometimes like my clothing choices. And
Right.
like, oh, wow, like would you look at that? Or like my random like new painting in the background. And it's just, you know, or even I just recently started getting really into like dreams, as in like my own dreams, and like stopping and really, like, I started a dream journal and I'm actually like writing out my dreams. And, you know, I started reading a book on dreams, and from a both scientific perspective as well as like the spiritual, like puts both together, which I really love. And, you know, from both sides, it talks about that it's a communication with the psyche. And you could relate that to like that higher version of yourself, your soul, your spiritual self, whatever it is that you want to call it, and that like communicating with you. And it's like this book tells you when you start a dream journal, it's like confirmations to your psyche of like, hey, I'm listening, and just been taking notes on that and every dream that I have. And it's so interesting what comes out. And I feel like it's like already heightened around this time. And you know, we're getting close to the new moon, or if you guys are listening, it's already the new moon in Pisces. And it's just, it's interesting to step back and like already observe some of the recent changes and how we just naturally become so in tune with the next energy of that next moon phase that's coming up.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's
I've been
beautiful.
trying to, like, I really am quite fascinated with dreams as well. And a few years ago, I went to see it, but I don't remember any of my dreams. So the reason I'm saying this is that if there's anyone else listening that rarely remembers their dreams, this, don't freak out about it because it's actually okay. And so anyway, I went to this dream interpreter and she was asking me, she's like, so do you have any like dreams that are reoccurring? Are there similar themes? And I was like, I really don't remember my dreams. And she was a little bit like, why are you here? Like, you know, anyways.
You're like, I knew isn't that what you're here for? To tell me my dreams?
Exactly. So, but she was, I really went there for guidance because I wanted to start remembering my dreams. But you know what she told me is that it's actually really healthy because there are different types of dreams. And if you don't remember your dream the next day, you did dream for sure. Because I was like a little bit paranoid, thinking, why don't I dream? Like, is there something wrong? But you're always dreaming. But what it is, if you don't really remember the dreams, is that there wasn't like a message that you needed to hear from that, but also it was cleansing you of your day. So it's actually really healthy to not like remember your dreams. But she did also say to me that you can do a few things like before you go to bed at like make sure that you do have a journal next to you so that you're sort of like already prepping yourself to be prepared and receive the messaging of those dreams. And also before you go to bed, just sort of say a prayer or even a silent prayer and just say like, I'd love, like, to the divine, however that comes through for you, that I'm open to receiving and I would love to receive through dreams and visions. And yeah, see how that goes. I'm still not a big remember of my dreams, but when I do have one, they're really weird. Like they're
Yeah.
weird.
There's a
It,
clear message coming through.
well, that no,
Yeah.
it's not a message. That it's just like they kind of don't. There are a lot of different things all together, but again, apparently that's quite a common like pattern of a dream, because your dreams are crossing time and space, so they're not like bound by the rules of like I'm in Australia this minute and then I woke up in, do you know what I mean, that kind of like weird stuff that doesn't make sense. Yeah, so expect a lot of that during Pisces season, so keep a
Oh,
notebook ready to write all of that down. Mhm.
wow. And yeah, the book said the similar things, and actually said it to Alex because he was like, why do you keep remembering your dreams? I never remember mine. And I said to him, the book says, like, as you're going to sleep, literally, like, even just affirm to yourself, like, yep, like, I'm gonna remember my dream tomorrow morning. I'm gonna remember the dream. And he did it. And then he woke up and he's like, Corinne, I remember my dream. And I was like, cool. And so, it's these little things. And again, like, your psyche's there. And if you say to it, like, hi, like, I'm ready, like, I want to start hearing it, I want to start remembering it, then it receives that confirmation, and it gives it to you. So, but you've also set the intention that when you wake up, you're going to remember it and you're ready to like write it down. So it's just been a really cool.
If you wake up at weird times in the night, like I went through a phase where I would wake up at 3:45 a.m. every day, 3:45 a.m. It was just so bizarre. And this was not the time for me to get up. It was just exhausting. And so another like angel intuitive friend of mine was like, there's a message in this time for you. There's like a message. You need to be like open up to that. So yeah, even if these things feel a little clunky and weird, like be open to them because they are, beautiful blessings. Although I could have done without the 3:45 a.m. wake ups because obviously you're exhausted after that. But yeah, there's always something in that. It's never just a weird coincidence. So yeah, dig into that.
I love it. Yay. These are really cool things for Pisces season. So buckle up, friends. We're all going to be interpreting each other's dreams soon. And let's look a
Thing
little
about
bit.
me, often Corinne has dreams with me in them as well, which is cool.
Oh yeah. What was the dream I texted you about? Oh, we were like in a spaceship, but it was like a sphere space shaped spaceship, but it was like small, and it was you, me, and Ant-Man. You can tell I've been watching Marvel. And yeah, we're like in the spaceship, and it was just like coming down towards Earth. And Claire's just like chilling, like all happy. And I'm like, Claire, we're gonna crash into Earth. Claire, like, we're gonna crash into Earth. And she's like, no, we're not. We're fine. We're fine. And we're like getting closer. And I'm like, Claire, we're gonna crash. And she's like, oh yeah, let me just pull this lever. And she just like casually pulls the lever, and we just like take back off into space. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Love it. Nice.
Thanks for my calming energy when I like things are about to crash and burn.
That's true. That's true. Oh, so yeah, that's all I have really about the new moon. So yeah, as I say, these inflows are still coming into Bitcoin. They really are. And as far as we know, with what institutions have been saying, their allocation, I mean, they're not anywhere close to being done yet. So yeah, so let's see. We would like to see, even just for the sake of healthy price action, the OCD trader in me is like, can we please just fill in some of those imbalances along the way, just to, not scare me too much about what could happen in the future. But yeah, I mean, if these inflows come in, it's very likely to keep pushing, pushing, pushing. I do see a little bit of a breather at least, maybe a full retracement, maybe a decent retracement at this new moon. So we just got to prepare for all three scenarios. Really, that's the key to this. We're not no one's going to always get it right, and we could say something with absolute conviction and say this is what's happening, and we could get lucky, and that's exactly what happens. Or we could say this is exactly what's happening. We could get it wrong and we could just say sorry. But I would rather be honest and say, this is what I'm looking at. And these are the scenarios that I'm planning out and preparing for all of those kind of scenarios. So I hope that helps.
No, 100%. Well, let's dive into a little bit of the astrology of what I do see for this new moon in Pisces before then we start getting into what we see coming after that. Claire, you've just got to allow me to share my screen, please. Yeah, so let's look at, first, let's just look at a quick chart, our astrological chart, and just taking a look at some of those movements that we've seen moon to moon.
That should work for you.
Oh, that does work. Perfect. So just looking at my crazy astrological chart here, you know, congratulations, everyone. Once again, we went from this full moon in Virgo. We had that tiny little pullback and it just went straight on up, that breakthrough that we expected. Not gonna lie, I did have this arrow, like I thought I was exaggerating when I said 60K, but it just continued on up, and I do expect more positivity as mentioned. So let's say where it comes to in this new moon in Pisces. And then I really want to look at the astrology for this new moon in Pisces. And as you can see, I'm already expecting a little bit of a pullback. I even did write in my notes that this is where I expect kind of that potential last little pullback to stack some more sats before things continue to like head to the upside. So here we're looking at the astrology for this new moon in Pisces for Bitcoin, with Bitcoin's natal chart here in the middle. So we have the new moon happening in the 9th house. And the 9th house for financial astrology is everything to do with foreign affairs and governments, which I think we'll circle back and talk a little bit about what we were talking about before, Claire, and what we may potentially see around here. But also with this Pisces energy, you know, Claire was talking about Piscean energy, and what Pisces energy also loves to do is kind of like dissolve and break through, and it likes to break through boundaries. And it also, I think of like a big, like, just think of like water, whatever water, like no matter what space water is put into, it will expand. And if it finds a little tiny crack, it will like get through it, and it will even dissolve material to continue to work through. So I really like see that. And also something like unpredictable. I feel like there's something unpredictable that's about to happen. And especially with this new moon being in conjunct with Uranus. Uranus is our rebellious planet. It's the one of sudden changes, of breakthroughs in financial astrology. We love Uranus because it creates those massive breakthroughs. But with all of this together as well, I see a lot of changing beliefs and sudden changes in beliefs. I wonder if this is also like people really starting to accept, like, wow, Bitcoin's like here to stay, like Bitcoin, and maybe those new people that will start to approach more Bitcoin and be like, okay, like, you know, it's time for me to seriously start looking at this asset, as well as a lot of expansion, because the 9th house we know is also related to traveling and long distance travel. So that gives us kind of this expansive energy. But is it going to be for the positive or the negative? Let's continue to look at some of the astrology. So we also have this new moon in opposition to Saturn, the natal Saturn of Bitcoin. And Saturn, I do see as that kind of, and it's also happening in the 3rd house, which is means of communication and the mind. And I feel like Saturn creates, what's the word I'm looking for? Resistance. Like it really goes and creates this resistance. And with that energy with Uranus too, I feel like there's this like tug of war where it wants to expand, but it wants to like restrict itself. So maybe this is even a period of time that we might see maybe not even that much of a pullback. It could just be a moment of consolidation, and getting little opportunities to maybe DCA at lower prices, but it's just consolidating, preparing for that next breakthrough. And it's, with Saturn and this new moon, it's very much like an introspective time, looking within. With that Virgo energy, it is a little bit of like, I don't want to say like it's like a depressing, like looking within, but there are some kind of like sad feelings around this. A little bit of like insecurities, maybe is like a better word. And potentially challenges also with authority figures, because Saturn also represents authority figures. So there could be something happening there, again, with that happening in the 9th house, foreign affairs, governments, maybe some more restrictions happening around Bitcoin could be a potential thing to keep an eye out on. On more positive news, there is also the Uranus being trine, which is a favorable aspect with Saturn. And that's very much a lesson on stability and balancing. So what was that?
Nothing.
Oh, did you say something?
No.
Oh, okay. No, maybe it was just a bounce back for me. But yeah, so, even that gives me a little bit of a sign of, okay, maybe not so much a massive pullback, but really just a stabilization. We're just really seeing like Bitcoin maybe just maybe create a new support, which we'd love. Who wouldn't love a support for Bitcoin at 60K, for it then to, or maybe even higher, for it then to just prepare itself really for that breakthrough. Because the other thing is that we are getting Mars closer and closer to being conjunct Neptune. And what have we been talking about? Pisces energy, which is, very closely linked to Neptune energy, and that euphoria, with Mars being a very explosive sign and a very volatile sign in financial astrology, with that coming onto the natal Neptune of Bitcoin, the natal Neptune of Bitcoin. This is very much a preparation for a huge expansion. So let's see. That's what we've got for now. And coming now, and there's so many things that we need to talk about in between here. Really, we're
going to add something also to the
yeah.
pullback scenario. I just want to share this.
Let's do it.
These heat maps which show the liquidation levels for Bitcoin. And really, we don't have a whole lot of liquidation to the downside, liquidation levels to the downside. And so we kind of know that like markets tend to go towards the places of max pain. And at the moment, there's really very little to the downside, and it's sort of all to the upside. So it's highly likely that this is going to continue upwards and take out that liquidation, because that's really the areas of max pain in the market. So I wanted to show just another example of some of the things that I look at when I'm kind of, as well as the astrology, and just to see how it's lining up and building a bit of a picture, a bit of a story of what Bitcoin could be up to. So I also thought that was interesting. On one of the other liquidation charts that I have, it's actually, there's very little. This one is only going down to 63K, but actually from 50K, below 50K, there's really nothing, so that's pretty interesting as well. It's really is more up to the upside. So yeah, I hope that's interesting to you guys too.
Totally is. Yeah. I love piecing all the pieces of the puzzle together and getting all of those confirmations together, It still blows my mind, Claire. I'm like, how are we here? But
And it's funny because we did speak about this like all through 2023. We were speaking about this. So I had someone message me the other day after listening to our last episode, and they were like, "Why are you so surprised? You've literally been telling us this is what's going to happen for the
I
last
think
year." It's
this
like,
is such a big journal prompt for me. Full vulnerability here. I'm like, Corinne, why don't you trust yourself enough? Like
mm.
sometimes I'm here like saying all these things, and then I'm like, you knew it. Like, what are you, why are you surprised? It's so funny.
So shocked when it's going the way that you thought it was going to, which is really funny. But it's also the messaging of the Pisces new moon is really learning to trust yourself and trust your intuition. And remember that we are recording these Zoom calls between us, and other people do listen to them too.
Well,
It's
yeah, yeah.
that whenever someone repeats stuff back to me, I'm like, oh, wow, I'm so in the moment when we're having these conversations. I forget that other people are actually going to listen to this. So it's quite funny that way.
And that's also how we kind of created this podcast for those that don't know. Like we were just meeting weekly and like doing this stuff anyways. And then we're like, we should probably record it and post it.
And here we are. This is exactly what it is.
Yeah. You guys get every part of it. Yeah, so I mean, obviously it's just exciting to see any sort of pullback right now, whether this retraces to 65, retraces to 60. I mean, even if we were to go further down, but even just looking at that astrology, I don't see any significant, like you were talking about like this bull run we've seen, a max of 20% retracements. Like I don't know if I see that, because as
Yeah.
of right now, as we're recording this, Bitcoin's at 68,000. A 20% retracement would bring it down to around 55K. I don't know if I see that in the astrology. Then let's see as we get closer to that. We do have, as of, and maybe I'll just share my chart again, so then you guys, my astrological chart, so you guys can also see the dates here. So I was just looking at, okay, as we come to this new moon, and I was just showing as of right now price, like I said, 5th of March, if we were to get that 20% retracement, it'd be around that 55K. I don't know about that, but we do have on the 18th of March, we enter the pre-shadow of Mercury retrograde. And look, it's so interesting to see how pre-shadow Mercury retrograde affects Bitcoin. I actually feel like it affects Bitcoin more than when we're in full Mercury retrograde. I mean, we can even see this past example here. Like we had Bitcoin just take off and did almost a 20% run in pre-shadow retrograde last time. And then as you can see during the actual Mercury retrograde, it just kind of like went sideways, like nothing really exciting happened. So we have that starting as of the 18th of March, as we are heading this time from the new moon to the full moon, it could be that this pre-shadow creates that little pullback, or maybe more intense than we expect it. Let's see. And just in between, there's actually not that many planets changing. Right before the new moon, we have Mercury going from Pisces into Aries, and that's where we're going to have that Mercury retrograde all occurring in Aries. Lots of energy or Aries energy around at the moment. And also Venus from Aquarius into Pisces. So even think about that. Venus is the planet of money. Sure, it's about love, but here in financial astrology, it's very much around money. And I think that Venus, if anything, is one of the planets that affects Bitcoin specifically the most from what I've seen. And again, those Piscean themes of expansion, of dissolving the old, of stepping into the new, of going to higher realms that maybe you've never been before. So that for me is just like super bullish. And then towards, as we get closer to that full moon in Libra, Mars is shifting from Aquarius also into Pisces. So a lot of Piscean energy, and Mars, remember, also for financial astrology is like the explosion. It's a lot of volatility. And that brings us right up to the eclipse, Claire, which we have coming up on the 25th of March. So do we want to talk a little bit about eclipses?
I mean, we can, or we can save it for next episode.
Ooh.
What do you think? Do you think we need to be prepared for this up and coming this episode? What do you think?
I do want to FOMO people a little bit because I want you guys to really like not underestimate what's coming up, but just a little bit. Maybe we'll give like a little like, you know, like a little teaser.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Now, sometimes people are really scared of the eclipses, but we've actually noticed in financial astrology that they're not always mean like massive market collapses. It's not every time. They are definitely something to pay attention to. You're going to feel it in your own life deeply. Really, a full moon eclipse is like an eclipse on a full moon on steroids. So it really shines a light on those aspects of your own life that need to come up, that need to be released, that need to be resolved and healed, etc. So you're definitely going to feel it. But in terms of the markets, we've sort of noticed, Corinne will go deeper into this, that there are sets of eclipses and they sort of trigger different things. And we actually, this bull market was actually triggered the last eclipse season. So yeah, do you want to take it a little bit deeper than that?
Let's do it. I'm excited. I really am in control of my emotions, but I also am really excited. Okay, so let me show you guys. So this is a bit of a different chart. Here we're looking at the weekly, always Bitcoin, our fave, not our fave, just the one that's the leader of the pack right now. So, and we can see, what'd you say?
My fave until it's not. As long as it stays stabilized and secure, it's still my fave.
Agreed. For now it is. Okay, we're a little biased. What is it? We bleed orange. I saw Robert Breedlove post that. Okay, so we're seeing here different eclipse cycles that have occurred, right? So at the moment, we have an eclipse cycle on the Libra Aries axes. And essentially, there's like periods of times where these eclipses just always occur on the same axes until it shifts, and then it will occur on another axis. Prior to the Libra Aries eclipse cycle, we had the Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycle. And what's so interesting, and I love looking at the Taurus Scorpio axes, is that Taurus Scorpio really rules like money. It really rules the economy. So if you look at it here during this period of time where we had the first Taurus Scorpio eclipse, and I can just zoom in a little here. So we can actually see the week that we had that first eclipse, which started that season, that was the end of the bull run. Like the eclipse specifically was like, we're done. We're out of here. It's time to, as eclipses like to do, really shake things up and reset. What are we resetting? We're resetting the economy, money, finances. So that was just super interesting to see. Prior to this, we had the Sagittarius Gemini eclipse cycle, which also are actually important signs in finances, but in particular to expansion and to technology as well. So because think about it, even Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the planet of communication. Sagittarius with Jupiter, expansion, foreign travel. So that's actually when we saw the bull run start As that finished, we entered into the eclipse cycle, the next eclipse cycle, which was Taurus Scorpio. That marked the bear market, that reset. And then what did we see? We saw the eclipse in Libra. That was on the 9th of October. This marked the start of this new eclipse cycle that we're in and the end of the old. And that's where what we believe is, of course, this next bull run that has just taken off. So the coming eclipses that we have now, I mean, just looking at this from a very zoomed out perspective, are all quite bullish, right? These are the moments that we do expect every eclipse that we have coming up to be quite bullish until the 24th of March, 2025. Which is also super interesting because, you know, Claire and I were looking at this before together and we were like, that sounds really too soon. But I feel like this is kind of a reoccurring theme of this cycle. Everything's happening too soon. So obviously we'll get closer and closer at looking at all of these various eclipses as we approach them. And again, the next one that we have coming up now is on this, let me put this back on the daily, is this one coming up on the 25th of March. And I will leave majority of this for next episode, but I'll just say that it's looking bullish AF. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Like it's, I don't know. I know I genuinely am surprised, but I'm also not. Yeah.
Bitcoin just broke all-time high.
I was just looking at that there. I was like, hold on, did it just break it?
Yeah, that ping.
Wow.
Trading.
There you go.
Ping. Yeah.
Boom. Well, congrats everybody. But just remember, there's still plenty of room to grow. Just zoom out. Zoom out.
Absolutely. My trading view is going bananas now.
Yeah, my phone
there are some interesting things also happening from a macro perspective as well, just looking at the banking system in general. We also have had JP Morgan predict and Bloomberg a prediction of Bitcoin returning to 42 to 45K after the halving. So let's see if that plays out. They may also just be putting you off getting into it, but or making you wait to get into it. I wouldn't wait for that 42K to start DCAing in, let's put it that way, especially after the astrology that we've just looked at. There is something else that I do find that I am watching quite closely the day after the new moon. We have the BTFP, which is the Bank Term Funding Program, which is a financial mechanism designed by central banks, which in this case it's the Fed, the Federal Reserve Bank in America, to provide stability and support to the banking sector during times of financial stress or uncertainty. So they opened this when we had that banking collapse earlier. Well, it was actually last year, and where we saw Silicon Valley Bank and a lot of these regional banks in between as well have folded. And yeah, this is basically to support them, or mainly the bigger banks, like Silicon Valley Bank was considered systemically important. So this bank term funding program is actually coming to an end on the 11th of March. So just looking at that, on the 11th of March, we have the moon entering Aries. And we also have Venus entering Pisces, as you just said. So there are sort of moves happening, but how this would affect Bitcoin, I'm not sure. So basically, a couple of things can happen. So the key objectives for the BTFP is the stabilization of the financial system, encouragement of lending. So when people don't trust the stability of the banks and they are less inclined to borrow from them, and collateral acceptance as well. So it allows a wide range of high quality securities to be used as collateral. It offers favorable terms under the BTFP, such as interest rate and the duration of loans. They're usually designed to be attractive to banks. Risk management by requiring collateral and setting specific eligibility criteria for participation. The program contains mechanisms to manage and mitigate financial risk. And really what it's designed to do is build confidence. So beyond that direct financial support that it offers, the existence of the BTFP is meant to give you confidence in the banking system, that even if the banks do fail themselves, that they are going to be bailed out by the BTFP. And so let's see if this program is continued on the 11th of March. There's mixed reviews about whether they think Jerome Powell will do that. So some of the potential outcomes, if they don't extend it, is they have reduced liquidity for banks. So without the BTFP, banks might face reduced access to liquidity, especially in terms of obtaining long-term funding. So this could really affect their ability to lend to businesses and consumers, and obviously affect their ability, therefore affect their ability to remain solvent and profitable. And considering that they enter this program when they basically are insolvent, if there haven't been shifts and changes made in that time, then do we have confidence that they can continue? And yeah, that is exactly the emoji.
Don't know.
I don't know, like, nobody knows. But it also potentially increases their borrowing costs. So which of course will be passed on to the consumer, because if the bank's costs to borrow increase, then that they're going to pass that on to the consumer as well. It can cause a lot of market uncertainty and volatility, and of course, and impact on economic confidence. That's really the main thing. Like, I kind of feel like Jerome Powell, outside of monetary policy, his main job is to spin the narrative, like sell us on the narrative and control the narrative around monetary policy as much as it is setting the policy. So it can be a real strain on financial institutions if this does not get renewed. So just be aware of that. And I think in our episode where we did talk about this with Silicon Valley Bank, you have to realize that it's labeled a banking crisis, but it's not really a crisis for the big four banks. They are quite happy to have the US banking system consolidated, and for people to lose confidence in banks that will not be deemed systemically important, and to move all of their funds, not just individuals, companies and hedge funds and other institutions as well, and partner with them if these other banks are going to find it hard to remain insolvent. So the decision to continue it is not necessarily a done deal, because it's, it actually aligns with the interests of the Federal Reserve and the bigger end of the commercial banking sector for these small regional banks to continue just folding into these big four banks. So yeah, so it's interesting to see. There's also been conversations around this, of the possible introduction of capital controls in America, and what that would look like. And of course we don't know, because the whole thing with capital controls is that they don't announce them ahead of time, because if they announced, we're going to stop you from sending money outside the country, or we're going to stop you sending money outside the state, or we're going to stop you sending money into crypto,
Yep.
or we're going to limit how much you can withdraw each day, you're obviously going to move your money straight away. So they don't give you a heads up on these things. So yeah, it is definitely wise to sort of have some precautions around that. Again, I'm not a fearmonger. I have no idea what the decision is going to be. I have no idea of that, if capital controls will come in. I don't have access to that information, but I do think it is a good idea to, again, be prepared for more scenarios. So let's see what's coming.
See, yeah, I think it's just about, it's about diversification in every aspect of life. Like, I love the word diversification. I think like be diversified in crypto, but like as in various coins and tokens. But then it's like, hey, also be diversified, like not just all in crypto, like be diversified across different types of assets.
Mm.
Especially when we're going through, and that was another thing that we spoke about for 2024 and a lot of the astrology that it's just really about dissolving the old systems and coming into the new. Like this is, especially with that Pluto dance between Capricorn and Aquarius, like this is such a key year for that. There's a lot of just unexpected stuff happening. I mean, we're only at the start of March. Like it's been 3 months, not even like a full 3 months. And so much has already happened and shifted and changed. I mean, just take a pause and look back to January of 2023. Didn't we live in such a different world?
Yeah.
And it's only been a year and some. Like it's wild. So I think that, and this is just me, obviously, no financial advice to anybody, but just for me, like I like the idea of just being diversified as much as I can. And especially, I believe I've mentioned this on a previous episode, but I'll say it again. As Neptune approaches, like Neptune right now is in Pisces. So that is this dissolving. That is just the word that I'm going to continue using. But then in 2025, Neptune is shifting into Aries. Neptune in Aries historically has been shown to be like the massive inflation. And if we haven't already felt inflation, again, I'm not trying to like fearmonger. I like people to just be prepared and look at your various options that you have and prepare for what you can. But that's like more inflation's coming.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind. I
It's
get like a state of an paralysis when I talk about this. My brain glitches.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it is still important to keep an eye on these things because it's so easy now to get really distracted and just super excited. Obviously, we are so excited. Bitcoin just broke all-time highs before the halving on as we're recording our episode. Like how beautiful is that? We are beyond excited, but we do need to still keep an eye on what is going on in the quote unquote real world, which is actually the fake world. I'll just put that out there. But
Yeah,
I'll just drop that
right.
little
We can live
bombshell.
here. Do we
But
think?
yeah, and so it is important. These decisions do affect, and sometimes it's very interesting because sometimes these things, as we're watching the old system decaying and cracking and falling apart, this obviously drives people, and it has actually driven institutions into Bitcoin. Why do you think they're here also? But sometimes these things get so a lot of times recently in the recent past it's been like, oh, the old system's falling apart, Bitcoin is now seen as a safe haven. I remember us discussing this on a previous episode that we're like, wow, isn't it amazing that Bitcoin is now seen as a safe haven asset? This was long before ETFs and all those kind of things, because previous cycles it's like as soon as something sneezed in the markets, Bitcoin was really in with those high risk tech stocks, and so it would come crashing down. So the profile of Bitcoin has absolutely changed, but these other things that are big events, that are important events, that are systemic events in TradFi do still affect Bitcoin. Sometimes they send it absolutely to the moon, which they should all the time, but sometimes there is a bit of a blip, and like COVID, for example. COVID, everybody freaked out, sold everything. We saw this massive dip on the Bitcoin chart as well, and then this huge V-shaped recovery. So those kind of things, like I can expect to happen as well, and I will have lots of little limit orders sitting there waiting to pick up those nasty wicks for sure. But yeah, we do always need to know. I've been watching some things play out also, the Federal Reserve and the Treasury and the Biden administration. And I feel like there are some cracks forming in that friendship, to be honest, because obviously the US government and the Fed have always worked hand in hand. But even a lot of people think that the Federal Reserve is actually an extension of the US government or an arm of the US government, and it's absolutely not. So I think this will also be quite interesting to watch how that relationship plays out, and it may become a lot more evident who's actually answerable to who. And I just saw this really interesting quote by Maya Amschel, from Maya Amschel Rothschild, who was labeled really the founding father of international finance, probably the founding father of central banking, really. And this quote is, "Let me control a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws." So if you think about the central banking and as a whole, that's the vibe. So when you control the money supply of a country, then it doesn't even matter who's in office. Who cares who makes its laws? They run the show. So it is definitely interesting to be aware of that and just keep an eye on that. It'll be fun to watch that play out with our good friend JP. We love Jerome Powell over here sometimes.
Sometimes. It depends. It depends which direction he makes Bitcoin move.
Exactly.
Um,
Very
but
much
yeah,
additional love.
it is a conditional love with JP. But I remember this, I was having a conversation with a friend. I don't know if I can label him an economist, but he works along the lines of something like that. And I remember him talking to me about this concept of the way that power has changed. So power used to very much be in, the kings and the queens and the monarchy, and then it shifted to having a governments and having a democratic system, and actually being able to vote people in. And now, however, and really in the past decades, we've seen a shift into the power being in corporations. And he was like, everybody knows it in our world, in their economic world. They were like, we just know that it's the corporations that rule the politicians. Politicians are just puppets.
Yeah.
To whoever is giving them money.
Whoever's that campaign.
It's already here and present amongst us. We just still have this illusion, which I think the Neptune energies that we're talking about are very much getting rid of that and awakening us to hold up. Let's unveil this and let's look at the reality. This is what we're in now. And also remember that with another important thing about eclipse season is hidden truths are brought to surface. And we're already in eclipse season because it happens 6 weeks before the actual eclipse. So as of mid-February, we already stepped into eclipse season. So we're ready for everything to be unrevealed. We'll bring out the truth, give it to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring it all out, I say. Roll it all out. Yeah, we live in such exciting times. Like, what a time to be alive, honestly. It's really fun, it's really exciting, and it's amazing to be able to be a part of it in some way. Yeah, and it's an absolute honor to witness Bitcoin just doing what it's doing. TikTok next block, that's it. Yeah, and just moving forward and basically repricing all assets in the world. It's wild. So I don't think anyone would have expected the way that that's got, the way that Bitcoin has gone, like even people who believed in the philosophy, believed in the tech, believed in what it came here to do back in like 2011, 2012, they may have believed in it in themselves, but did they really think like, wow, in 2024, we'd be breaking. I mean, no, if anyone at that time was really thinking like, oh, well, we're going to be seeing institutions buying $52 billion worth of Bitcoin. Like, you know what I mean? So it really is an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be able to witness that, I think.
I believe so too. Very grateful to be here. Grateful to be in these times, and especially just having this information, because I feel like a lot of people still to this day don't have a lot of this information. And there is a lot of confusion, a lot of fear out there. So, I said this the other day to my students. I was like, go and chat to your neighbor, just see where they're at, see what's like, because I really feel like not the majority of people are actually tapped into this information. So
No,
go
and
and chat.
crazy. I mean, I had a similar thing like when Bitcoin broke all-time highs in Australia. A friend of mine had messaged me, just LFG, rocket, rocket, rocket. That was it. That was the whole message. And I just wrote back at you, and then he wrote back and said, can you believe that there are people that don't have any exposure to Bitcoin? And I'm like, yeah, like it's wild, because for me and you, like we're in this world, we live and breathe this all day, every day, right? So definitely for us, it's very normal for us, but even for a lot of people around me, like there's a lot of people talking about Bitcoin. There's a lot of people that understand it, know it, whatever. But really, there are a lot of people who, just haven't been told the gospel of Bitcoin yet.
Yep.
We've got to do better with our Bitcoin evangelism. We should really give out those books. Bitcoin Evangelism by Brian DeMint. Definitely a good book to read. But yeah, I just think it's fascinating, and it's so abnormal to me to think, wow, people don't have any exposure to Bitcoin. Like this is wild, really wild.
It is wild. It is wild. So I think, with that said, let's embrace this new moon energy. Let's embrace this expansion, this elevation. Go knock on your neighbor's house and go have a chat with them. No soliciting, just go have a chat with them. Give them a book, give them a neighborly gift. And yeah, happy new moon to all. Happy new Bitcoin all-time highs.
Cheers to that. I was gonna have champagne for that, but I forgot about it today. Anyway, I should go to bed. Yeah, you don't drink at all. It would have just been me alone. I don't think that's not a healthy thing to promote. Just sit drinking on your own with no friends, cheering on Bitcoin all-time highs. Don't do that. It's a slippery slope. But congratulations everybody. Bitcoin all-time highs, amazing. Happy new moon, happy manifesting, happy dreaming under this Pisces new moon. And we'll see you next episode. Peace, love, and Bitcoin.
Peace, love, and Bitcoin.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Bitcoin Zodiac podcast. We hope you enjoyed our discussions about the evolution of Bitcoin viewed through the lens of financial astrology. This podcast does not offer financial advice, so please make sure you do your own research. And stay tuned for our next episode, where we will continue to dive deeper and build off these perception-expanding topics. Remember, whatever your beliefs may be, we all have something to learn from each other, so stay curious, stay open-minded, and keep exploring the world of Bitcoin and astrology. As always, may the stars align in your favor and your crypto investments prosper. Until next time, peace, love, and Bitcoin.